Discovered only recently. Alan Millard found it while sifting through the British Museum's backlog of clay tablets. It made him wonder, perhaps the Bible never meant a global deluge.
The ancient Hebrew language has one word for land and country and earth, and it's easy to suppose that means the whole earth, but it certainly need not. And I think that it was a local flood that is described there.
The discovery of these older versions of Noah's story raised a tantalizing possibility. What if they had been inspired by an actual flood? Not a global deluge, but a regional flood in Mesopotamia. In the 1930s, archaeologists returned to Iraq to find out. In 1931, a team of archaeologists led by Leonard Woolley and his wife Catherine were excavating the ruins of the ancient Mesopotamian city of Ur. They left a detailed record of their finds, revealing that they dug 5,000 to 6,000 years into the past, the right time frame for the Noah story. One day, Woolley's workmen struck an unusual layer of soil, one that could only have been deposited by water. When the soil was analyzed, it showed that the silt had been deposited by river water. Mesopotamia suffered regular seasonal floods, but this was a massive layer, something out of the ordinary. In fact, later archaeological excavations of ancient city streets show that 5,000 years ago, at least 3 Mesopotamian towns were hit by large river floods. So Leonard Woolley and his wife had hit the jackpot. There had been a massive flood in ancient Mesopotamia after all. It was conclusive proof that a real story lay behind the biblical and Babylonian epics. In committing the story to writing, the Sumerian scribes may have embellished it with myths and supernatural events, but there are plenty of practical details too. And they are priceless in reconstructing a story that's historically plausible. However, it does mean starting afresh. It means setting aside the storybook image of the huge ark, the global deluge, the number of animals, and the landing on Mount Ararat. Above all, it means abandoning the familiar biblical image of Noah. It means introducing a very different image of what Noah might have looked like and how he might have lived. Archaeological finds have established that the Noah story may actually have happened in Sumeria, an ancient civilization in what is now Iraq. The Babylonian accounts say that the story begins in the city of Shurupak. The Sumerians invented writing, the wheel, and accounting. And what is known of their culture provides the first glimpse of the historical figure behind the flood stories. The most obvious difference is how Noah looked. Forget the man in biblical robes. Imagine instead a Sumerian from head to toe, wearing eye makeup, a shaved head, and quite possibly wearing a kilt. Then there's what he did for a living. The Epic of Gilgamesh says the Sumerian Noah owned silver and gold. 5,000 years ago, these were the currency of wealthy merchants, suggesting that the Sumerian Noah was not a farmer or wine grower, but a businessman. Instead of an ark to survive the flood, the Sumerian Noah is more likely to have built a boat to make money, hauling grain, beer, and animals. All the big trading centers, like the great city of Ur, lay on the Euphrates. It was cheaper to take cargo on river barges than by overland caravans. The question is, how big a barge did this Noah have? The size of Sumerian vessels on the Euphrates varied, from small reed canoes to wooden ones 20 feet long. No remains or inscriptions of large Sumerian boats have been found yet. So instead, marine archaeologists ask how big a boat could the Sumerians have built with the available technology. One simple solution would have been to tie smaller boats together. Marine archaeologist Tom Vosmer believes there are clues to this effect in the Epic of Gilgamesh. It says that the boat was divided in sections.
Probably one of the best ways to do it would be to build it in units, such as the size of this, and use it as a pontoon in a river barge, actually, and hold a number of these together, lash them together with some rope and heavy timbers, and then they could build the ark on top of that. And it was probably a system that could have been used on the rivers quite easily.
Since the historical ark was a cargo vessel, it's easy to guess what the Sumerian Noah loaded onto his barge. Forget the animals marching 2 by 2. Think instead of Noah loading animals, grain, and beer for sale. Even for a rich merchant, it's quite an undertaking to mastermind such a big construction. But according to the Babylonian sources, Noah had more than money on his side. They say Noah was the king of the city of Shuruppak, but he wasn't above the law. Failure to deliver his cargo would have meant social and financial ruin for Noah, even if he was king.